Ladies and gentlemen, the continuation of my previous story from the tale of merchant and the genie. And this is the second part of my story. This is now we had finished that from where the first sheikh started to tell his story. Now I'm going to tell you the story of the first sheikh. I'll have you know, O genie, that this ghazal is the daughter of my paternal uncle and my own flesh and blood, and I married her when she was young maid. I lived with her for close to 30 years, but I was not blessed with any offspring. So I took me a concubine who gave birth to a boy fair as the full moon, with glistening eyes, straight eyebrows, and perfect limbs. Little by little, he grew to be a tall young man, and when he was 15, it became necessary for me to journey to certain cities with a large amount of goods. But my wife had learned the art of witchcraft, and she turned my son into a calf and his mother into a cow, and placed them under the care of the herdsman. So after a long time had passed and I returned from my journey, I asked for my son and his mother, and she answered me by saying, "Your slave girl is dead and your son has fled, and I don't know where he's gone." So my heart grieved for an entire year, and my eyes did not stop weeping until the time came from the green festival of Allah. Then I sent for my herdsman and asked him to choose a fat cow for me. He brought me the one which had been handmade, whom this ghazal had bewitched. I tucked my sleeve, put on my apron, and taking a knife, I began to cut her throat, but she bellowed so loudly and wept such a bitter tears that I was astonished. Out of pity, I dropped the knife and said to the herdsman, "Bring me a different cow." Then my wife cried out, "Slay her! There's none fatter or fairer." Once more I made a move to sacrifice her, but again the cow bellowed loudly, and I could not bring myself to kill her. Instead, I commanded the herdsman to slay her and to flay her. So he performed the sacrifice and skinned her, but could not find fat or flesh, only hide and bone. I repented when it was much too late, and I gave her to the herdsman and said to him, "Fetch me a fat calf." So he brought me my bewitched son, who, when the calf saw me, he broke his teeter, ran to me, fawned upon me, and shed tears. Consequently, I took pity on him and said to the herdsman, "Bring me a cow and let this calf go." But my wife cried, "You must kill this calf. It is a holy and blessed day, and nothing is to be slain except what is pure and perfect, and there is nothing among our calf that is fatter or fairer than this one. Look at the cow that I have just slaughtered at your request, and how disappointed we are by the result." I said, "There is no benefit from her at all, and I am extremely sorry for having killed her. So this time I'm not going to listen to you, and the calf will not be sacrificed. By Allah, you have no choice. You must kill him on this holy day, and if you don't kill him, you are no man for me, and I shall not be your wife." Now when I heard these hard words, I went up to the calf with knife in my hand, unaware the wife's real purpose. However, when I looked at the calf, I commanded the herdsman to take it away, and he did as I ordered him to do. On the next day, as I was sitting in my own house, the herdsman came up to me and said, "Master, I want to tell you something that will make your soul rejoice and enable me to be the bearer of good tidings." "I'm listening," I said. "I have a daughter," and he began, "and learned magic in her childhood from an old man who lived with us. Yesterday, when you gave me the calf, I went into the house with it, and she looked at it and veiled her face. Then she kept laughing and weeping. At last said to me, 'Oh, Father, has my honor become so cheap that you are not bringing strange men into the house for me?' I asked her, 'Where are these strange men? Why are you laughing and crying?' She answered, 'To tell you the truth, the calf that you have with you is the son of your master, the merchant, but his wife bewitched him and his mother. That's why I laughed, and I wept because of his mother, whom the merchant slew. Unaware that it was she, of course, I was most astonished by this revelation, and I could hardly wait until the break of the day to come and tell all this to you. When I heard my herdsman's word, I went with him to his house and was drunk with joy without having the least bit of wine. His daughter welcomed me and kissed my hand, and the calf came right away and fawned over me as before. 'Is it true?' I asked the herdsman's daughter, 'all that you have said about this calf?' 'Yes, O master,' she cried. 'He is your son and your own flesh and blood.' I rejoined and said to her, 'If you can't release him from this spell, you can have whatever property and cattle I have.' 'Master,' she smiled, 'I don't desire such goods. I shall take them only under two conditions. The first, that you marry me to your son, and the second, that you allow me to bewitch your wife and imprison her. Otherwise, I won't be safe from her malice.' Now, when I heard these words, I replied, 'Not only do I grant you your wish, but you may have all the cattle and the household stuff in your father's charge. And as for my wife, anything you do to her is all right with me.' After I had spoken, she took a cup and filled it with water. Then she recited a spell over it and sprinkled it on the calf, saying, 'If Almighty Allah created you as a calf, then remain as you are and don't change. But if you are enchanted, return to your rightful form.' All of a sudden, the calf trembled and became a man, and I embraced him and said, 'By Allah, tell me all that the daughter of my uncle did to you and your mother.' And when he told me how everything had happened, I said, 'My son, Allah blessed you by enabling someone to restore you to your real form, and now you may now receive your rightful due.' Then I married him to the herdsman's daughter, and she transferred my wife into this ghazal by giving her a shape that is by no means loathsome. After this, the herdsman's daughter lived with us day and night until she died. Then my son journeyed forth to the cities of Hind and also to the city of this man who had offended you. And I also took this ghazal and wandered with her from town to town, seeking news of my son, until destiny drove me to this place where I saw the merchant sitting and weeping. Such is my tale." "This story is indeed strange," said the genie, "and thus I shall grant you a third of merchant's blood." Thereupon the second old man, who owned two grey hounds, came up and said, "O genie, if I relate to you that my brother those two hounds did to me, and if you admit that it is more wondrous and marvelous than the tale that you have just heard, will you grant me a third of the merchant blood as well. I give you my word, said the genie, but only if your adventures are truly more marvelous. Thereupon the old man began. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I will continue with the third part of the story, the story of the second sheikh, and if possible, I will tell you the story of the third sheikh also. Thank you very much.